This program and its contents are designed for information and educational purposes only. This program does not render medical advice or professional services and is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. The information provided here should not be used for the purposes of diagnosing or treating a medical or psychiatric condition. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider.
Hi, welcome to Positive Momentum. I'm Diane Silva, and today we have Benji Cunningham. He actually was my flight instructor, so I've invited him on the show and talk about his successes. We really kind of get off on a tangent sometimes, so please try to keep up. Good luck.
A lot of fun.
Benji, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Benji Cunningham. I have lived here in Omaha, Nebraska for 7 years now, since 2007.
Okay.
I am a veteran of the United States Air Force.
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing that you'd want to know about me is that I'm a family man, a working professional in the healthcare arena, actually in the pharmaceutical arena, and I'm a certified flight instructor on the weekends.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun.
You had told me one time at your job in the Air Force, who you we related it to Top Gun. And when people ask me questions about you, I'm like, okay, this is what he did. So you want to tell us?
Sure. In the Air Force, I was in the Air Force at a point in time where there was a lot of flux, or actually downsizing, actually the way there is right now. I went to the United States Air Force Academy, and once I graduated as commissioned as a second lieutenant, I went to maintenance officer training first, but I wanted to be a pilot. I actually ended up going to navigation training, so I was a navigator and trained as a weapons systems officer in the F-15 Strike Eagle. So
okay.
A weapons systems officer, what they call that is a WIZO.
Okay.
And if you ever saw the movie Top Gun, I would be Goose.
Okay. Well,
right. And in the Navy, there's actually what they call it is a RIO, so it's a radar intercept officer.
Okay. Okay.
But in the Air Force, we kind of did more of the heavy lifting. I'm just putting a little barb to the Navy, but I'm all good with the Navy. But
yeah,
in the Air Force, WIZOs are responsible for not only the air-to-air and doing the radar stuff, but then also just dropping the heavy metal, dropping bombs.
Understood.
Cool, you know.
I remember when my ex and I were military, and there's always that little friendly rivalry. There's it's kind of like a football rivalry. You
Indeed.
Just kind of, you're a member of the same club,
Yeah.
the same group.
Indeed.
You endure and love each other, but at the same time, you've got to, give them some, as you put it, give them a barb.
There's no greater rivalry in my life right now, even though I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and anything against Dallas Cowboys I'm not for. But
careful.
There's a whole nother level when it comes to the Air Force Navy game.
Oh, yes.
There's a whole nother level.
Oh,
I think that
definitely.
I took my kids out to an Air Force Navy game, and I think that they felt that I was another person. Like, who are you? And as much as I was yelling, the midshipmen were walking in, and I'm just sitting there just like going crazy. Then the Air Force Academy ran in, the Air Force Academy team, and it is just a whole nother level. I do have a little bit of jealousy against the Army-Navy game because they have such a long-standing history.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But my roommate at the academy actually was it was an entire year, was a midshipman. So it was kind of cool, and so I had and learned a good respect for the Navy, even though I'll always give them barbs.
Well, we have to,
Yeah.
It's part of.
We have more Commander-in-Chief's trophies than they do, so I think. Anyway.
Cool. So, what would you define, other than your wonderful careers in the military? What would you say are your successes and maybe some challenges you encountered?
Well, it's interesting. When we first got together and discussed how do you define success, and the minute I thought of that, I'm like, accomplishment. What did you get accomplished? And that was the initial thing that it made me think, like, what is success? However, looking back in retrospect, success is accomplishment. Success also is the learning from trials.
Okay.
And failure, in my opinion, is probably one of the best trials that you can get. If you get something, you're looking at something, you fail, or you find out something that you're not really, there's a fear, there's an anxiety, there's a trepidation that's getting in the way, and knowing that, wow, there's a trial that I have to overcome to get to my goal. That in itself is also a huge, and again, an opinion, an N of one, but a huge accomplishment in learning through a failure or a trial is an accomplishment, which means success. So I think what is my definition of success is accomplishment. And sometimes it comes with success, like you try it and you get it done and you're triumphal. And sometimes it is you're successful because you tried, you failed, you got up, and you overcame. And so that's that. So I would say that my life is a good bag and a good mix of both triumphant and failure and getting back up, shaking it off, and going for it again. So some of my successes would include my dream of wanting to go to the Air Force Academy, and I did it. And I graduated. Being in the Air Force, a regret that I have, and I say this from a trial, a failure, and it didn't work. My Air Force career didn't last as long at all. I only did my 5 years and I got out. I flew jets. It was a dream. I was a maintenance officer in the Air Force, actually right here at Offutt Air Force Base. That was outstanding. That's where I kind of found my leadership voice.
Cool.
Leading young and older airmen, and being a young lieutenant myself, you learn how to lead people, lead ideas and visions. So that was successful for me, and I still lean upon that to this day. A success also would be from a serious trial of my wife and I were fertility challenged. So for 6 years, we went through fertility trials, roller coasters, 5 in vitro fertilizations, and now we've got 3 children to speak for it. But that's something that going through something so much and being successful and being the blessing of having and being a parent. So I would say that my Air Force experience, the blessing of having children and being a parent, even though it's a ton of work.
Oh yes.
The blessing of being married for 17 years, and the most recent is the blessing to give my gift of the love of flight to someone else. That is a huge, huge blessing, and I have met a tremendous spectrum of people in the aviation field, to include yourself.
Yeah, and we're going to do a whole show on our little adventures, which will be next week. So
yeah, that's going to be.
Watch us.
Yeah, that is. I speak of your story.
Okay.
A lot to my students.
Okay.
And I speak of your story in a lot of different arenas, and I'll never forget. And I'm not going to. So stay tuned for the next show.
Yes, yes, definitely. It's going to be great.
But I remember picking the phone up and hearing your voice on the other end, and it was just a wonderful team experience. Because I'm not going to come up and beat my chest up like I'm a pilot and hear me roar and just come on out. And it was like, nope, it's not about that. Mm-hmm. So so it was a. Yeah,
we're gonna cover all that. That's one you're gonna really need to keep up on. Good luck. Grab your coffee, whatever you're gonna do while you're watching that show, because
absolutely.
If you get up, you're gonna miss the whole really good stuff.
So don't drink a lot of coffee. You can come with coffee. Actually, you don't even need coffee on that one. That'll be just a ton of energy on that one.
Definitely.
So,
yeah, you get us two together there.
No doubt. Absolutely.
So other than, if you could elaborate maybe on your talk about your children or your, how do you stay married for 17 years?
So married for 17 years, and the other thing I would say as far as from a success that I was very remiss is my daily walk with Jesus Christ. I am a Christian, excuse me, and how do you stay married? My brother gave me the best advice ever we were living together, and we were engaged. I was in the Air Force. I had my flight suit. You know, I'm training to fly F-15s. There isn't anything that you could have told me that I was so full of myself, and I was tough to live with.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there's no question. I was tough to live with.
Most
I'm tough
military
to live
members
with
are.
now. I'm tough to live with now. And I mean that in a way that, you know, I know that I'm not perfect, but from a marriage perspective, Christ is in the center of our marriage. There's
Okay.
no question about that. The other thing that I would say, the advice that my brother gave me was that, hey, Benji, you need to understand something. Marriage, when it's going bad, man, it is a lot of work.
Okay.
It's a lot of work. However, when it's going good, it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
And I took that and I was like, what is it? Oh, okay. I'm a workaholic. So I love to work, and you know, and I've for 17 years I've learned you have to die to self.
Explain that.
I am selfish by nature.
Okay.
It's all about me. And you know, when you are married, it's not about you. It's about the marriage. And we went through this book in our Sunday school class that God didn't create marriage to make you happy. He created marriage to make you more holy. And I'm like, wow, that is like revolutionizing my thought process, because here at times when I'm thinking, you know, she makes me mad, she does this, and it's like maybe this whole thing is structured to reveal certain selfishnesses that's in my life that I'm dealing with. Maybe just the way that my wonderful wife is, and at this point in time is revealing I'm not being a good listener. I'm busy doing this, or I'm busy, my mind is elsewhere, and I'm a big time believer of Strength Finders, and it's a book that's Strength Finders 2.0, and it talks about your strengths, and one of my strengths is futuristic.
Okay.
I focus on what's around the corner, or what's over the horizon.
Okay.
And I'm pretty good at being able to sell a vision of going to a student and saying, hey, listen, this is what it's going to look like. When you get your private certificate, and just to help them be motivated towards looking over the horizon. So when that equates to a marriage, if I am always in tomorrow, and my wife's love language is in today, then there's a little bit of conflict. So dying to yourself means that you have to, you got to quell that.
Okay.
Okay, you got to and help yourself, speak and be towards her needs, right, or your mate's needs. So that's one thing, and so that's something that's helped me be successful. Being humble is one thing too. Not being so full of yourself. I take that to the flying arena as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to say this on air because I firmly believe it. I am a really good pilot.
You are.
There's no question I'm a good pilot.
And we will talk about that in great length, because I would go in any plane with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've proved that several times.
And I've had the blessing to be able to fly airplanes, and that's something that's it's a God-given desire of mine. However, I say this, I am a good pilot, but every time I land that airplane and walk away, I'm always thinking, okay, I was too fast on that one. Okay, I kind of overbanked it here, and I was off by 20 feet. That 20 feet went to 40 feet. I'm not happy with that. I could do this better, that better, this better. And so I'm always constantly, I have this insatiable appetite of never being satisfied. I will never be satisfied. The minute that I get into an airplane, I'm like, that's pretty good, it's good enough. I'm going to walk away.
Okay.
Because that complacency and passivity will kill you.
I understand, and we've read enough accidents.
Right, and if you think about it though, the complacency and passivity, if you apply that to anywhere in your life, okay, you're passive in your marriage. If you're passive, you become complacent. If you get complacent, then you become selfish. You become selfish, that's the instantaneous poison in a marriage. So that's my thoughts, Brad. That's
that's big, that's huge. You know, being able to take that pilot and the ability to say, okay, I'm never going to be 100% satisfied with my performance in the aircraft.
Never.
And if you take that and say, I'm never going to be 100% satisfied with my performance anywhere. We're not going for perfectionism, but we're critiquing going, okay, what could I have done to make this better?
Right.
What could I have done to make myself better? You know, there's that level, because so many people are reaching for perfectionism, so they, I know for me and other people I know that perfectionism will stop us from doing stuff. We can become paralyzed.
And you were saying something earlier that I was kind of taken aback, and I'm like, that's exactly me. That there is the fight or flight or freeze. Now, I am a perfectionist because I'm always in pursuit that, I always say this about myself, and I tell myself, it's kind of in that positive self-talk, I envy no man on this earth, no man. However, I envy the man that I should be. That's the man that I envy, because I know that I'm not. I'm not at a full potential as to who I can and should be, so I'm in constant pursuit of getting better and being a better man and a better pilot and a better father and a better manager and a better leader. So that's something that I pursue, and you know, with myself. And you said something about fight or flight. So there's different arenas. So that I'm constantly trying to tweak. So if somebody is like, hey, can you send this to me? Or can you do this? And I'm like, absolutely, but I want to just give it to you. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so I can go here, I can go there, I can do this, I can do this, I can do, okay, now what? All right, now what now? And squirrel. And it's like, you know, and I'm all over the map, right?
I understand that.
And all of a sudden you're like, so what exactly did you accomplish? Nothing. And you know, it's something that, that's the freezing portion of it. Now, what's very interesting is if you put myself into a cockpit, okay, and I'm coming and hurling at the ground at 110 miles per hour on final, and I'm not where I want to be. Oh no, there's not like, well, maybe could I add the power? Should I do this? Like, respond now. So it's a different arena, you know, that, you know, I'm 2 knots off. Well, respond.
Right.
You're in there, but just constantly keep moving. And I think that being a pilot actually would probably be a person with ADHD would be the perfect place, because you're just constantly moving, and your thought process when you're flying is there, but it's a mentality of trying to get something accomplished in the most precise manner. Never be satisfied with your position, never. And so, and it's maybe to be pretty successful.
Yeah, and like I said, I will state it again. I would go in any plane with you. I've seen your performance. You know, we've had. We'll talk about it next show.
I love flying.
Yes, you do, and it rubs off. And even for those of us who have anxiety, see, there's a little clue.
Yeah. All good.
We're feeding you little bits, but
it's all good.
So
there's so much science, and I just to kind of delve into. There is so much science into aviation, and and I think one of the things that helped you was sit in my ground school. Sit there, understand everything that you need to do to understand. And even as a certified flight instructor, ground instructor, for instruments, for commercial, for private pilots, I still don't know it all.
No, and I don't.
So, but there's a lot to know that once you kind of get an understanding of it, you're like, okay, well, there is science to it, and it makes sense how this works. And part of the reason why that I'm like, I want to be an instructor, I want to be a ground instructor to help people understand. When I was in my 20s, Oh God, I was a cocky little thing, you know, and I had an innate skill of being able to move the stick and throttle. It just came natural to me, right?
Okay.
So there was a lot of things that I did in the cockpit that I didn't know why I did it. I just knew how to do it.
Okay.
I didn't have the knowledge or the science behind it, but I got away with it, and I would do certain things. And now, as a father and a husband, and I have a lot to go home to, so you better get it right.
Right, yeah.
So I need to go back and understand. So why does the airplane do this, like this? Oh, okay. So like when I did that 10 years ago, yeah, I pretty much would have killed myself, but I think God had something else for me at that day.
Yes.
I had more to do, so, you know, so it's really interesting on that.
So if you could go back and tell yourself, your younger, cockier self or arrogant self, whatever you want to call him.
Both.
If you could give him some little piece of advice that he would actually maybe, just maybe listen to, because it's coming from himself, his future self, what would you pretty much tell him? What kind of advice would you give him? Insight, you know?
Do you know what kills me are those commercials that I think it's like the State Farm commercial, that the older person meets the younger person, and they're like, hey, oh my God, that's me, right? And I'm sure that, you know, if I could go back to my younger self, there'd be 3 things. And I wrote them down because I look back at it in a very sad way. And I don't know if I would say sad, Diane. I would say, let me not say sad. It'd be like wow. Thank the Lord that I have this perspective, because the gift of the 20 years of you're doing the same thing, is that now I'm able to gift it to my children, right? Just to take my life lessons and hopefully just give them a small sliver of, please don't do it like Daddy did it. Do it better. There would be 3 things. Focus on today.
Okay.
Study smart, not hard.
Explain that. At least a little bit.
At the Air Force Academy, it was kind of hard.
Okay.
Academically, and I'm being facetious. Our average, our full load was 21 semester hours. Okay.
Wow.
I'm so proud of my experience at the Air Force Academy, but 21 semester hours. I took a lot of classes. I wasn't the most academically gifted person, but the reason why was that I wasn't dumb. The deal is that I was all over the map. I just cannot wait to graduate, and I'm gonna fly F-15s, I'm gonna get married to this cool lady, and I'm gonna have 2.5 children, and I'm gonna be flying, and then I'm gonna get promoted to a colonel, and I'm gonna be a wing commander. And it's like, but you have a test tomorrow. So study, like, stop, wake up, focus on today, okay? Now, instead of studying the entire book the night before, you get opening up, a fire hose and taking it all in, and really taking nothing in.
Right.
If you were the instructor, what would you want? How would you write the test? Okay, study that way then. So study smarter, right?
Okay.
Lastly, it's a work in progress. So I'd say focus on today, study smart, and lastly, stop talking and do more doing. That's what I would tell myself 20 years ago. Would it be 24? Yeah. So focus, study smarter, and stop talking.
Okay, so go a little bit deeper or a little more elaborate on the stop talking. I know I'm I'm a dreamer. I come up with lots of ideas, and somebody just told me, give yourself permission to dabble, before you jump in and really just, commit to whatever it is you're doing. So it's like, okay, so when you're saying stop talking and start doing, how does that relate to what
Diana, I'm with you. I am a dreamer. I love the vision of it. And there's a lot of ideas that I have as far as, there's a business that I want to go into myself right now. Stop talking about it. Just do it. Stop talking. I had a friend of mine that's like, man, just, that's a great idea. Just keep it cool and just do you. Just do. and figure it out. So, you know, in the flying arena in the Air Force, I had a lot of friends. It was a wonderful time in my life. But again, I was so busy, yappy, yap. It's like, stop talking already. Just take it in a little bit, figure it out, and just do it. So I don't even know if I'm articulating myself appropriately, but you know, that would be my
No, I
advice.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Like I said, we are a lot alike. So the next show, try to catch up, try to keep up. But
Keep up with us here, come on.
But when you talk about stop talking and just do it, my mind immediately goes to how. So, and that's where I get stuck. It's like figuring out how to do the how to make this happen. I mean, I didn't think about this show. I mean, I just started doing it. I didn't give it any thought. And this was one of the first things I've actually started from beginning to end, you know, and actually got shows on air.
So you know, to answer the question how, because the idea that I have for a personal venture of mine, and it's the how, that's where I'm going to rely on my relationship with Jesus Christ, is pray, just be quiet and open your heart, open the ears of your heart, open the eyes of your heart, and the revelation will come to you. And I have to say, I thank the Lord every day. Sometimes that a thought will come in my mind, and I'll be like, and just shut up, because it's not the right time to talk right now, right? Okay. Just let it simmer for a minute and see, you know, what God is trying to have you do. How? You know, there's all types of stories where, you know, God calls on godly men, get up and go. How? With the 2 legs that I gave you.
Well, we're going to continue this because we're going to have you back next week. And thank you very much for watching Positive Momentum.